there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome to the SCC Relegations. It's Gore, and it's Mifflin here that we're going to be going through set 1. That's going to be coming up. But for those of you who are kind of curious as to what's going on, well, this is the I want to say the other half of the culmination of what the SCC has been going towards, right? If you look towards what we're talking about next week and where we're going to see a lot of the SCC teams that were very successful, that's going to be talking about Masters, their chances to play into the main bracket, take on some of the SPL teams, earn a little bit of cash, and potentially take the title of the, I guess, SMITE Summer Masters, whatever they end up being for those 2 weeks. The other teams, well, they have to fight for their spot, and that's where we are right now. So you're going to see a couple of familiar faces if you've been watching the SCC throughout this first phase, and then maybe some not-so-familiar faces if you end up, maybe not catching into the SOC as often. We Ready and Mixidity are going to be the two SOC teams with a lot of familiar names on them, and they're going to be taking on the Cowlin Wardens and the Xibalba Storm. Now, this is going to be very simple. Round robin, best of threes all the way through, and the teams that win the most get to go into the NASCC next. The teams that lose, they get knocked out. 2 teams advance, so of the 4, half of what you see on the screen there are going to be able. So if you're the Wardens of the Storm, you're fighting to stay in the SCC. If you're We Ready or Mixidity, you're fighting to get into the SCC. And Mifflin, from what I've learned over the last few months, years, probably honestly, it's never a guarantee. So you're going to be seeing these standings update throughout the day as we travel with these teams. Again, there's a lot of sets, if you can imagine it, so you're each of them playing 3 other teams to make sure that things go down. And so there's going to be a lot of sets. We're going to be watching just a few of them today. And as we go throughout, you will see the updates on how these teams have been doing, where they are. But of course, that means that we have to watch some of them and figure out where things are going to be going. So first up is Xibalba Storm, the one that I can literally see out of the corner of my eye. I immediately, for some reason, skipped them. And then We Ready, who's going to be taking them on. A very, very fun matchup, I think, that we're going to get to see. Xibalba Storm is kind of surprising. I mean, this is a team, especially when it's ELLEON. It can create some question marks around them. NASCC, in general, has been really, I want to say, high pressure. It feels like there's a lot of teams that are doing well over there. And so Xibalba Storm, a lot of great names on it. And Mifflin, they're going to be taking on another team that has a lot of great names on it. If you go back, I think it was the Salt tournament that I remember, at least a few of these at the very beginning of the year. Players like Ratmilk stand out. Shipigamy's on this team. Xibalba Storm, We Ready. Definitely a fun one, I think, to try and jump into. And so without further ado, let's jump into it. Game number 1 of this set. Anything standing out to you, what you can take it wherever you want, meta-wise, player-wise, or if you happen to have a combination, is there anything that stands out to you here?
Well, I mean, blanket statement, I think when we're talking about the SCC/SOC level of play, which is exactly where we are right now, there is a greater emphasis on individual play. How well is X player doing on day of? More than any other scene in SMITE, this is where you see player diffs. This is where you can see one guy legitimately win a lobby. So I'm keeping my eyes on junglers in particular, as they generally have their hands in the most baskets and control the map a little bit better than everybody else. So that will put us with ELLEON, I believe it's Ratmilk as the jungler for We Ready. So those are 2 players I'm really keeping my eyes on. Go all the way back to play-ins, like way, way back a few months ago now. ELLEON looked like one of the better players at that event in its entirety. Doesn't win through, but still has a very consistent god pool, a very consistent win rate on hyper carry style picks. I imagine We Ready are going to spend a lot of their time targeting ELLEON, if not in bans, at least in counter selections. Looking up just now, seems like ELLEON's targeting ELLEON, though. It's 3 jungle bans from them.
But it is, the other side of it, right, is that you had mentioned Ratmilk, somebody that, like, of the rest of that team, like, Shipigamy, GIobe have been around, but, like, Ratmilk definitely stands out as someone who I've seen do really solid things. And if you can limit that jungle pool and still get Serqet, that's actually really nasty for the Xibalba Storm here. I want to ask you about Nox's first pick, though, right? I feel like, Vamana exists, and this is still 10-5 balance, right? Like, he got some nerfs, but we saw last week in playoffs, that doesn't change too much about where his priority is. I'm surprised he's not on the screen.
Yeah, Vamana is just press W, hold M1, and you've essentially locked down the skill ceiling of Vamana, right? Press 4 first. I'm sorry, I've led you astray, fans at home. Make sure
that explains why I've been feeding so hard. Get
your massive CC immunity and regenerating HP shield before you decide to W key in its entirety. But even with the Vamana nerf that we've already talked about, Nox also got nerfed. Now, I would argue her nerf was a little bit more significant than Vamana's was.
Yeah.
10% less damage taken away from whoever you hit. So Nox ultimate, slam someone with the ultimate, they now deal 30% less damage than they would have otherwise, whereas previously it was 40. So keep your eyes on Nox. Be a little bit mitigated in her efficacy.
We had a long conversation last week about how we hated talking about
it's so difficult
that
to say.
change because it is such a roundabout way to try and get in there. Vamana is going to get banned out here alongside the Zeus by the Xibalba Storm. The other side, it's the Izanami and the Shipiganmi. So right now, you're seeing Nox, Ram, Susano, all good in role, at least in the top 3 probably for each of their roles. Other side, Mifflin, Serqet, Baba Yaga, Yemoja, Hercules. Like, I mean, you're almost getting first in role every single time. Really strong draft. So far for both teams, We Ready close theirs out with Merlin and Chulainn. One more for the Xibalba Storm. And after highlighting how everything else had been like the #1 picks in all of their roles, we're getting Cupid.
Cupid's okay. You know, and I think that is...
He can auto-attack?
It's a fair estimation of the value of Cupid to say that he is simply okay. Ability damage, he's got a bit of it. CC, I mean, it's not exactly easy to land CC. Heart Bomb, of course, but you got to charge that up first. The ultimate, but Heavenly Sprint exists, and that essentially invalidates Cupid ultimate. You can pop Heavenly Sprint on one side, run all the way through it, and get out the other without taking any damage or slow. So Cupid's going to bring a lot of sustain. Maybe not the most safety for himself, but a little bit of kill pressure in lane. Some
sustain alongside the Yemoja as well, so that might feel good for the team. Hercules has a little bit for himself. We'll see how that fares in Game 1 here. As We Ready, again, trying to fight their way into the SCC. The Xibalba Storm trying to continue their path through the SCC this year. Been a little while since we've gotten to see a Nox support the players that were picking her. And specifically the players that were picking her and doing incredibly well. It's either panned out against them or we haven't seen them in a month because they qualified directly to Masters and probably won't get to see it then either, even with some of the nerfs. And then a nice little Twitch chat poll here, Mifflin, but they are leaning very heavily in favor of We Ready.
Yeah, the SOC representatives have some fans in the chat, it would seem. And I think
it's
for
all
good
for
reason.
Ratmilk, man.
Ratmilk's got fans, legitimately. This whole team in the SOC, Tegveer, GIobe, Hapn, Shipiigami, these are all guys that have very nearly made it to the SCC level or have had brief stints in the SCC as well. So no surprise to me that they've maybe a favorite for some of the fans here. But they've got some stiff competition on the other side. Xibalba Storm has had an interesting trajectory so far this year, Gore, in that they've really had to switch up their roster pretty consistently. Slash and ELLEON feel like maybe the 2 primary players of this team that have stuck together. Otherwise, here or there, have had to make a few replacements.
Yeah.
We'll see whether or not Xibalba Storm have made replacements for the better or the worse as they line up against We Ready, who have been playing together for a very long time now. Looking at pace of game and which team will likely to get active first, I think you look at Xibalba Storm in that regard. It's a hyper-aggressive dual lane, a kill lane between Yemoja and Cupid, and ELLEON on Serqet that is one of the best pick-based assassins in the game, and ELLEON, always a player trying to get something done.
He gets stuff done playing Mercury in metas where Mercury is terrible.
Bad. Yep.
So I have high anticipation for ELLEON probably to be involved in any and every kill that the Storm pick up. A lot of it, at least as of late, has been the question of when. I mean, sometimes you'll get first blood super instantly. Sometimes they take 12, 15. I think we had one that was 17 minutes. And he's been hanging out over on the right-hand side of the map. No blue buff invade able. So he's just trying to get the Chulainn a little further. And you had mentioned it, taunts, things like that make it a lot easier. Knockup's good, gets the taunt in immediately. The damage is good, the push is even better. They're looking for the first blood dash, gets the damage, but they don't have the autos. Chulainn, he just gets to walk out of there.
Yeah, I mean, that is a long dedication of time as well from ELLEON to the right-hand side. Doesn't get a whole lot off of it. Ratmilk spends that time clearing out some back camps. I believe splits one more wave in mid, so a slight experience advantage over to the Susano. potentially a bit more if you'd like to pressure in towards this blue buff. Tegveer has already teleported back towards lane, but it'll be a reset to neutral. Happy just to defend their own camps. Considering Xibalba Storm were the ones getting aggressive, I think a small win for We Ready. And with both teleports expended, the lane's right back to even.
Yeah, nothing crazy is going to happen over there for a little while. I think you get one, maybe two gank attempts like that, but like you said, you lose a little bit of experience. Ratmilk, I specifically have a lot of memories on, for some reason, Ratatosker, and I know it was Ratatosker. There were some crazy, like, deep base dives for Ratmilk on that god, and I expect a lot here. I think GIobe just now realized he had the green buff on, didn't pick up red. That's the other half of this, right? I think that talking about the early game specifically for ELLEON, the Serqet, is really solid. But, you know, Susano is nothing to scoff at. And I also think that the Merlin brings a lot more to the table. Maybe not as much as he can late game, right? Burn damage, we've seen that on objectives. It's absolutely insane. But you get pulled into the wrong scenario by Ratmilk, and GIobe's going to punish you for it.
Yeah, I mean, Merlin's got decent damage in the early game, but it's a conversation that maybe is better suited for another day, but there's not a whole lot going on right now. I find that SMITE players and MOBA players in general are very good at avoiding consistent damage. If it's burn, it's not very good.
Yeah.
Like what's a good analogy? You know, you can put a lobster in a pot, and if you slowly turn up the heat, it won't notice.
Yeah.
SMITE players the opposite, right? If it's going slow, they're going to back themselves out. And that's where Merlin is. He's going to hit you with a little bit of poke here, a little bit of poke there, consistent burn from the fire stance, this, that, or the other. It's burst damage that catches people unaware. Speaking of, Tegveer, toss back.
Tries to control it a little bit.
That's
Here, good push from Slash. That should be all they wrote, but no! A great stun has to get the knock-up. It's so well played. It's a double knock-up through the wall as well, and it goes forward. They kill off Slash. Chulainn comes back in for the auto. And what a turnaround from We Ready.
Man, that is so miserable. Tegveer goes back in. 2 autos from Dead, says, I would like that kill, please. Goes back in there, grabs it for himself. And Slash, who has been on the receiving end of a few ganks himself, but has also received some assistance from ELLEON. First to fall in the game and in lane. That is not an easy lane matchup either from behind. Slash already has the, I suppose, the poke disadvantage up against Chulainn, thanks to some of the easy damage applied, as well as the rage transformation. So, could be that ELLEON feels like he needs to stick around in that soul lane. And this has been an issue I've noticed from Xibalba Storm a fair deal, and it's something I brought up earlier. This 2-man core of ELLEON and Slash, they play together. When they've come out to events, they are the homies. They love hanging out. There's a lot of camaraderie between those two, but I think it has affected ELLEON a little bit in play on field. Maybe he feels like he needs to hover around that soul lane. Because when you watch him in the regular season play, and now here, first 6 minutes of the game, ELLEON has not gone to the left side of the map, unless it's to grab his speed buff. Otherwise, it is just attempts at the soul laner's life. And soul laner's already got physical defense. He's double dipping up against his direct lane opponent as well as the jungler. Feels like ELLEON might have a bit more success somewhere else on the map.
Not just the physical defense, the contagion. First up, we haven't gotten to see, like, there was a period of time at the beginning of this year, every tank worth their salt had a contagion in their build. And it didn't really matter where you built it. It was just a good item to grab. Couple of nerfs. Doesn't get seen quite as often. And it feels pretty solid against a Hercules, but like it feels like it only affects so much maybe in lane to a certain extent. Maybe we'll hold that thought. Reverse Buke, as well as the Fields of Love drop down, Hapn locked up, but it's not enough. Knock up at the very tail end for Ratmilk, but just the presence of the Susano. And then the Rom rotating in was enough to thwart that. GIobe, though, gets caught out. Home sweet home. Firebolts getting thrown down, chasing for their target, but again, Ratmilk plays Savior and zones out everyone necessary. GIobe, some bad pathing brings him back in. Great Riptide on the other side, and ELLEON gets the first kill for the Storm.
It looked like GIobe was really worried he was going to get soloed by Yemoja there. Around 40% HP, I mean, fair concern, I suppose, but walking back into the Storm after Ratmilk had, by sheer force of will, forced both of them back into their tower somehow. It's like a bit of a misplay and perhaps an avoidable death, but We Ready should be able to recover, and even then, it's not a massive lead over to Brìz just yet. maybe about a half level. And seeing as Brìz has gone for a much more standard build, no stacking just yet. You're not really worried about scaling from Baba Yaga, at least until she picks up the Prophetic Cloak. I think an all-right time to fall down for WeReady's mid laner. Xibalba Storm finally get ELLEON out of that soul lane. Finally strike blood as well on the left-hand side. Pay dirt, I should say. But as far as pacing is concerned, feels like WeReady are really starting to scale up in that duo lane in particular. We have seen a whole lot of attempted fights from Xibalba Storm, and for good reason. Xibalba Storm's duo lane is amazing as a two-man core in the 2v2. But if you want to talk about scaling into the late game, which side is going to bring a little bit more, Rama's blanket statement just better than Cupid. And Nox, of course, a little bit nerfed, but still incredibly powerful. Whereas Yemoja is just not consistent. Especially at the SEC level of play. I haven't had the most opportunities to watch PeerPressuree himself, but we've seen some Rivers Rebukes go a little bit south of where they need to be, swing a little bit wide, and you just can't be doing that on Yemoja. So far, so good, though. I take it back. Excuse me.
The unfortunate spacing there. Fields of Love as well thrown out, but the Rivers Rebuke not quite able to lock down the way they wanted to. And while Fields of Love does mez out Shippigami. There's no true follow-up just yet. ELLEON finally shows some face over in the left side jungle. But actually might be the one who's getting jumped on. Ratmilk tries to start the fight. Don't have the silence and the lockdown just yet. Gets a little bit of poke onto Brìz as well. But it's a small amount of zoning for some mid-harpies right now, Mifflin. Nothing too crazy going on. And the teams get to fall back. The junglers right now may be dictating the pace more than anyone, despite the attempts of the duo lane.
Yeah, it's been a whole lot of, is ELLEON there? If yes, Storm will fight. If ELLEON's there, is Ratmilk there? And every time the answer to that has been yes as well. Neither side able to tip the scales overly so into their favor. Take a peek towards WeReady's builds, though. Transcendence in first slot for Ratmilk, so he's just spending his time scaling up, isn't really concerned with getting too much started on his own. Might have a fight headed his way. ELLEON nearby. Spotted on his back, but caught between a rock and a hard place. Seems like, though, WeReady not exactly willing to chase him out until just now.
Unfortunately, Silence a little off the mark. Serqet, super mobile if you can't lock her down, and ELLEON showcases that maybe in the best way possible. Gets to the tower range before the others can even get to the lane. Ratmilk still hanging around this side of the jungle, but as you had just mentioned with like Transcendence, seems a little slower pace. Definitely some wiggle room. A blue buff invade attempt, but does not find success from WeReady. And that's a lot of it, Mifflin. I mean, we're 11 minutes into the game. It's 1-1. The gold is right next to each other. I mean, it is going to change wave to wave. You're lucky if it breaks double digits, really. Experience seems to be going pretty much the same way. Small level lead for Tegveer, matched by a small lead for ELLEON. So a big play on map would be huge for either of these teams. Some grouping from WeReady on left, but it's just for vision around the Gold Fury. Makes me think they're going to be going for something soon, though, right? You're fighting for vision. You're dropping the sentry wards over there outside of like the oracles. Starts to make me think that they want to play and they know that they need that lead.
Yeah, WeReady is certainly much more capable than Xibalba Storm at actually dealing with the neutral objective itself. As far as Secure is concerned, you likely do favor the Storm, so you want to deal with Brìz before you actually take the objective, but otherwise, the ability to actually kill Gold Fury does belong to WeReady between the burn of Globe and Shippigami, as well as just the damage starting to stack up now for Ratmilk, and Typhoon maybe can at least challenge some of the confirmation that Brìz is bringing on the Baba Yaga. Whereas the Storm, on the other hand, I'm not so certain that they can deal with Gold Fury in a timely manner. If they're 4-stacked on it and they'd already want to fight, of course, they can grab the objective, but the ability to sneak it, I'm not sure is there, not just yet. So Xibalba Storm maybe a little bit more onus on them to just play wary around the objective. Peer pressure. It's got a couple headed for him. Ratmilk teleport off the mark. And a Riptide will deliver peer pressure to a bit of safety here.
force Ratmilk to play defensively. Also want to give a shout out to PeerPressuree just because I think his name is really funny. This game for the Xibalba Storm has gotten a little more interesting, and specifically because I'm looking down at the builds. We haven't had anything too crazy happen. And right now it's ELLEON, the guy I wanted to talk about, getting active on the map. Great River's Rebuke this time locks Hapn down. And sometimes you just need one more auto after that. A really good setup, really good follow-through. Biteyyy gets the kill. The thing I wanted to ask you about, though, is actually maybe the reason that play goes down as easily as it does. ELLEON, at least for most jungle builds, you see items that have red in the background, maybe orange, aggressive items. He's gone for something relatively defensive early on, but knowing that it works maybe well with the Serqet, something you maybe see on a Serqet if she was eligible for support right now. It's actually interesting to see the dynamic. Do you appreciate this, I guess, in the grand scheme, knowing that it slows down maybe some of the aggression, considering earlier we were already talking about Serqet being an early game build, or early game god? Or do you like the fact that not only does it give him some defensive utility, it actually doubles down to give him aggressive utility as well?
Yeah, Stone of Binding is the only pseudo bruiser item that's still in the game. When the bruiser item nerfs came, or item shifts, I should say, where you no longer get power with items that give you defense, you can't be tanky and a damage dealer. Stone of Binding somewhat skirted that wide shift here in SMITE. Doesn't give you any power per se, but the passive is when you affect someone with hard CC, it reduces their protections based on your own level. So I believe ELLEON at this point strips about 13 physical and magical defenses every single time he hits someone with any form of hard CC, and that's his ultimate as well as his second ability, which just means that not only is he hitting harder, but every one of his allies is hitting harder, and if someone CC'd, your allies are probably hitting that guy. So it's an item we've seen on just about every Serqet build in the SPL, and one I expect to continue seeing. One of the primary weaknesses of Serqet is her ultimate, and that brief window where you jump onto someone's back and they can immediately return damage because you're just stuck there. Stone of Binding alleviates that at least a little bit. You can tank a few more auto attacks than otherwise without sacrificing too much damage in build. As well as it's just generally a cheap item, 2,300 at max rank. Doesn't feel so bad.
Provides a nice little spice in what otherwise has been mostly standard jungle builds. I was wondering if they were going to get aggressive. ELLEON had to dash away. I also have to give a shout out to Shiπigami. Stares down Biteyyy at tower lane, or tower line. Ignores the Fields of Love, has beads and Aegis and ult, and just kind of eats it because he knows there's no bad that can happen. The team's been pretty diligent on their shield buff. And so neutral farm on the left side of the map. I mean, you had highlighted it earlier. ELLEON spent a lot of time on the right-hand side. Outside of that one kill earlier on to Hapn, attempts on the duo lanes have been done by the duo lanes. And right now, attempts are getting turned towards the Gold Fury. There's a lot of presence from both squads here. The pull is started by Ready. Boulder gets thrown out by slaaaaaasH. Aggression and a jump in from ELLEON, but does not get the taunts that he wants. Now it's going to be the knock-up, the lockdown onto PeerPressuree. Shiπigami hits the auto through the walls, and that starts this off with a huge kill onto the Yemoja. Now aggressive for Ready. We're trying to figure out how deep they want to play in the jungle for this one. slaaaaaasH still hanging around. Brìz has a lot of damage. Gold Fury started back up. And you had mentioned it earlier, they have the better capability to kill the Fury, and now they just got to zone out slaaaaaasH. They do so pretty well. In fact, they're going to go up into the air for the snipes. Shot number 2 hits. Shot number 3 hits as well. Shiπigami picks up 2 in this fight, and the Fury to boot for Ready.
Man, the Storm are just not on the same page right now. PeerPressuree trying to flank the entire fight, and if it goes well and he gets into their backline, amazing. All he needs to do is throw up the River's Rebuke and GG on the team fight, right? You'd have locked everybody in. Phantom Shell hasn't been upgraded just yet for Ready, but because he is spotted early, just completely gets rid of that line of play. Pyromancer pulled and confirmed by Ready. PeerPressuree and Brìz not there in time. So what has become, or what was a very even game, has become a very significant lead for Ready. I didn't expect it to be that large already. 1,500 gold. Experience still neither here or there.
Oh my god. 3 levels in the jungle.
Yeah, that'll happen quickly. ELLEON, he ripcorded that fight, Gore. He said, look, peer pressure has inted. I will go clear every camp on the map that I can. The enemies or mine. And he does so well. Steals away the red buff, I believe, the back camps, goes back, solos out the right side. Jungle doesn't split any of that farm either. ELLEON's trying to do a super soldier, and that's been ELLEON's MO for a very long time. But level leads don't necessarily matter if you can't get things started. And it feels like ELLEON is really struggling to get into that back line. Needs some more frontline presence. Have Slash disrupt. Have peer pressure. Get some defense, really. I mean, just needs to stack that Gauntlet of Thieves. Finish up that prophetic look. Because right now, that Yemoja, at least in the last engagement, did not look very tanky. Probably because Shinigami's already got dominance in kin size. But it's not as if Shinigami's going to start doing less damage at any point. Really need to get that defense sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the stacks, theoretically on a Yemoja, easier to stack up. You can just throw your abilities out, not have to worry too much about it. Yeah, that one was interesting. It was left behind as the steal attempt from the Storm came through, and by the time anyone was able to get back, they didn't pick it up. So a Pyromancer, I mean, we've been talking about it for weeks as worth only what you do with the bomb afterward. And unfortunately for We Ready, they don't get that aspect. So it is just the golden experience from it. They also are trying to get something done, but I think Slash showcases why you can't really do too much against a late-game Hercules when it's just 2 of you and 1 of you is a tank as well. So not enough damage from Ratmilk on his own. Slash even got a nice, beautiful double push. We talk about not just level leads, but maybe invades from Leon. He's hanging around the green buff. Doesn't seem like they're going to be going back in. Approaching 20 minutes, 3-2 for the kills. And you had mentioned it earlier, but about 1,500 gold in favor of We Ready, which was a skyrocket, but with specifically the level lead in the jungle, or the one that was there, didn't quite lead to too much. Blue buff confirmed by Tegveer. And Shinigami.
Jeez, buddy.
Does not care about Fields of Love. Might not care about the River's Rebuke. Is going to tank that one. Does pop the beats. Has a few autos to go here. Damage reduction thrown out by Hapn. They're not going to take the fight. They fall back. Shinigami's about half health. And it feels like We Ready are ready for more.
No heart bomb?
They just haven't been able to find their opportunity. And for Shinigami, you're playing like a man possessed. He's staying up here. Does not care. He's taking a lot of autos. Has to play carefully. Gets away this time around, but his low health bar maybe helps that gank not come to fruition just as much as the positioning of Xibalba Storm.
Yeah, the Storm had a ward right on top of Ratmilk, and I think pretty telegraphed that somebody's nearby to help you out when there's a 15% HP Ram just walking down your tower line, especially considering you know his bees are down. Like, this has got to be the easiest kill of my life. What is he doing? Surely there's someone nearby. Xibalba Storm, game sense and wards.
Yeah. Alert
them of that. Fury, back up. Xibalba Storm first on the scene. Soul Laners don't lie, and they're both here. Another 5-on-5 attempt. Keep your eyes on Slash. That front line needs some presence because really We Ready have just not been challenged on whether or not they can group up and deal with the front line of Xibalba Storm. They've been allowed to do just about anything. Nobody's been able to disrupt them. The damage output has just been there. So I'm keeping my eyes on this Hercules. A pull would be a great way to start the fight. Also need to see a bit more from peer pressure. That Yemoja was lacking in presence in the last engagement. I say all that, priming for an engagement that might just not happen. Pyromancer pulled, though, by Xibalba Storm. Should be the go button for We Ready once they hear it knocked down. There it is. They've already scattered to the wind. They're too far away from the Gold Fury. They can't do anything about it.
Looked like a strong grouping at first now. Maybe opportunity to Xibalba Storm. Good damage from the Merlin onto peer pressure, but you had called forward earlier to get a little tankier. And while Ram wasn't here to test it out, Shinigami now rolls forward. Might be able to showcase exactly what kind of damage numbers he has the output. Good pull back in. Slash caught out. Good Fields of Love. Ult from the Nox, and now the knock-up coming through. Snipes all connect, but the damage is just not enough. Slash somehow gets away with it, gets out of there, walks away, but his team can't quite say the same. Tegveer, good knock-up onto 2. Results in a kill onto peer pressure. Just like last time, front line gone. Gold Fury pulled by We Ready.
So that's 3 team fights now that Xibalba Storm have lost the exact same way. Frontline steps up, takes too much damage, forced to retreat, don't have a great answer to the chase down potential of We Ready, be it the displacement from Ratmilk or the slows from Shippigami, and they're just peppered with damage on the back foot. The rest of the Storm forced to walk in, try and defend their ally, make sure that they don't fall down. Successful in that Slash lives, unsuccessful in that peer pressure has to pay the cost. Someone has to pay the Pied Piper. It's the support this time. Xibalba Storm just have not been grouped. They have not been playing around their strong suits. And what was a 3-level lead for ELLEON still is a lead for ELLEON, but he hasn't done anything with it.
Yeah.
3 levels up, haven't seen anything except for more farming, but Ratmilk has been able to catch up almost entirely. He only hit level 20 once. ELLEON's there. We're about at peak power for ELLEON, who elects to pick up the Deathbringer rather than finish up that Protector of the jungle. And so, Xibalba Storm's jungler is just about as strong as he's going to be. He can get a little bit tankier with Protector a little bit later on, maybe some more crit in that luxury 6 slot, but hasn't been able to get a whole lot done in these team fights. We Ready are just playing better as a squad. Their 5-man has just been significantly better than what we've seen from the Storm.
And that amount of control has been nice. Looking for another pick on the peer pressure. I mean, that has been, you had mentioned it, losing it the same way. It has been peer pressure bullied at this point. 2 deaths, each one of those has resulted in a Fury. They lose a tier 1 tower, though. That is We Ready getting pressured. They start up the Fire Giant, trying to get an answer from Xibalba Storm. ELLEON hanging out in the Pyromancer pit. Some ward coverage is going to give them good vision. Joe's in onto Shippigami, forces the beats. Autos are there. Now you have control over the carry. You've lost now River's Rebuke, but a few ultimates expended on the side of We Ready, having to vacate.
It's a good pull.
They're grouping. The wall keeps Hapn safe. And that's going to allow a little more wiggle room here, Mifflin, for We Ready. But a good opening. I mean, if we've been talking about Xibalba Storm trying to get things done, they just showcased that they can get things done. They just need the scenario to go their way.
Yeah, Xibalba Storm also need to use their healing. Feels like Slash and Biteyyy have not been communicating with each other. Slash sitting at low HP for a good long while, finally starts to receive some of that sustain. Had they done it faster, Xibalba Storm could have pulled the Fire Giant much sooner. Instead, it's just now happened. And We Ready, living true to their name, prepared for the defense.
Up in the sky. Snipes connecting, but the shield a little too strong there from Biteyyy. Last shot doesn't connect. Fire Giant got leashed, but it did not reset fully. We Ready finally dropped that. Hapn way too far forward, thrown into the Sharks, but the shields, it's working too well. They've got the damage. The knockup is huge. They still lose Hapn, but the fight is looking great for We Ready. They surge forward, and they pull them back in. The damage from Ratmilk is looking great. It might just be the 1 kill for now, but a ton of TKOs and a tower dive on the way. Ratmilk once more, and he's going to get it. The double picked up, teleport away from ELLEON. And a TKO onto the 3 not dead members of the Storm. Unfortunately, Mifflin, they took just as much damage in response. Can't quite pull the Fire Giant.
No, can't pull fire, but still threatening enough that Slash felt the need to teleport back in towards lane. Checks the Fire Giant pit. Here's the Pyromancer fall. Clicks his tongue and says, should have checked that first. Slash needs to be careful here. He's not as tanky as he might think he is. Shippigami, a massive threat. And you know, while we're singing praise, Tegveer deserves every bit of praise I can give him. This Chulainn has been amazing this game so far. 100% kill participation, has been absolutely tearing apart the backline of Xibalba Storm. The ultimate initiations have been clean. He tanks the tower, so allowing Ratmilk to finish off that kill perfectly. Waits out the CC from ELLEON, takes as much damage as he possibly could, still walks out of it alive. Tegveer doing a whole lot of work for his team. Finally pays off at the 27-minute mark. Fire Giant now on all 5 members of We Ready. And Xibalba Storm, you can have the Primal Fury. A whole lot of good that's going to do you. Fire Giant off the map. Not a lot of gold split between them either. And with plenty of bastions of gold to collect on the map, I count 5 towers at a glance. We Ready should be able to push their lead pretty significantly on this first Fire Giant siege.
5 towers it is, although that's going to drop dramatically in mid, tier 1. Gone. And maybe the start for a pretty massive power play. Having to play with the timer, though, that's always the difficult part. Xibalba Storm are stepping up to defend their tier 2s. As well they should. ELLEON hanging out in the jungle on the right-hand side. Everybody else under the tier 2 proper in mid. Waiting for someone to maybe misstep or for Slash to get a pull just off the mark. A little bit of burn there. Zone from the Merlin opens up the doors, but they can't get Shippigami in. Ratmilk's going for something massive. Can't quite find it. The same thing can be said for Tegveer. Trying to dive, trying to create space. The two who have gotten a lot done for their team this game. Unfortunately, unable to get anything rolling into the tier 2. Miflin about 40 seconds burned off their power play, and they have to back up.
Yeah, the execution of the team fight for We Ready is simple. Does Shadow Lock connect? If yes, pray that Shinigami's in range, and if he's in range, you've done it. Team fight concluded. You're dropping anybody down to 50%. So long as Shinigami's allowed to sink in his autos, and ELLEON happens to him quick.
Looking for snipes, 1, 2. Now he's just waiting it out. River's Rebuke on the ground. Aegis used. Good pull back from Slash, but it's not going to keep
crazy.
him in there. Tegveer gets a lot. Shinigami even turns the kill around, and he stays alive for longer. He gets a double kill with virtually no HP. Takes the fight and makes sure it stays even. Now it's what can his team do with that? They have to back away. Globe's a little low, and they've lost a lot of their frontline presence. But an insane play from Shinigami makes sure that that doesn't get out of hand.
Yeah, Shinigami, that roll forward. I mean, it looks crazy, but it's just correct. Xibalba Storm were so preoccupied, concerned with the disengage, that they had put themselves deep into We Ready's backline, trying to catch the roll. And Shinigami says, "I'll go the other way. You know, you're not quite ready for that, are you? And why would you be?" Gets way too much damage off, considering how much he had taken before the fight had even started proper. So great play over towards that Ram, who now finishes up his build with a Deathbringer. It's not exactly the most crit-in build, but one stray auto attack doing a fair deal more could be the difference between living and dying in a situation like we had just seen, and might just be enough threat that peer pressure feels the need to pick up a spectral armor. No spectral armor just yet for Xibalba Storm. Means that those crits are going to find full value. But no spectral armor on the other side either. We Ready, not going to pick one up for themselves. So ELLEON has similar potential to just one-shot somebody, but a little bit more of that potential thanks to Serqet having crit just inherently in the kill.
A little more work to maybe have to pick it up. Speaking of picking it up, Runic Bomb. And the Pyromancer goes over to the Xibalba Storm. Fire Giant's going to be spawning in 15 seconds. The pick right now could be a huge deal. You got to play carefully. Slash falls back. Some damage investment from We Ready, but ult's still available. Maybe waiting on those relics as well. 50 seconds right now for Shinigami. Could be a dangerous area for the Ram. Fire Giant has spawned in. You had mentioned the healing a little bit earlier, and finally comes through. Tegveer leading the way. We Ready. I mean, you had said it earlier. Their name indicates how ready they are to fight at any given moment. And it feels like that's what they're waiting for. It's just this overstep right now, it feels like, maybe from Xibalba Storm. ELLEON's on the right side, clearing out minions, and We Ready are just waiting for the opportunity to strike.
Yeah, Xibalba Storm actually playing with a deficit, but more confidence nonetheless. 2,000 gold down, and the defensive positioning around the Fire Giant established by them. I'm keeping my eyes on ELLEON. He has been one of the primary win conditions in the team fight. Even on that last base defense, able to force Ratmilk out of the engagement. Massive, drops him down to 20%, nearly secures the kill on a Shinigami, but don't need to rehash how heroic a play Shinigami had just had either. So ELLEON feels like maybe the most important player on his team right now. Otherwise, you look towards the Baba Yaga for a bit more consistent damage. Feels like Brìz has been struggling a bit to connect with some of his priority targets. But on the other end, it's Shinigami almost all the way. That ADC has just been doing so much damage. Tegveer on the front line deserves praise because he's making space, but it's just not as flashy as what an ADC can get accomplished. So Tegveer to create space, Shinigami to make use of space created. ELLEON find a pick, and maybe your team can get things rolling from there. Fire Giant down to 50%. It's Tegveer in the back.
An enhanced Fire Giant at that. 31.5. Tegveer, you had mentioned it, deserves the praise. Maybe just not quite as flashy. Tries to go in, gets a good knock up on the peer pressure, returns with the Rivers Rebuke. Snipes are good on the Brìz! What a great shot from Shippigami in the backline. Now rolls forward and tries to keep that pressure going. Slash eats some damage. The healing's there from peer pressure.
Good punch.
They're trying to keep going. It's Ratmilk leading the way. Takes a lot of damage in the process. Has to play carefully. The rest of We Ready in an interesting spot. You've lost your mid laner if you're the Xibalba Storm, but Leon's deep. Might be able to find some people as they roll back. Can't quite get the pickups he wants. And instead has to fall back to his team. Good damage from Shippigami. 6-1-1 for the Rom Mifflin. We ready. They're stepping up and matching the energy of the Storm.
Beads lost from Shippigami. In exchange, ELLEON loses his to Shippigami. Both relics off of both Brìz and Biteyyy. These Xibalba Storm just have not got a whole lot left in the tank. Aegis is maintained by the backliners of We Ready. So GIobe, Shippigami still have one line of safety in these next couple of engagements. I need to see more from Leon, Gore. And this is not something I'd expected to say watching this set. He spent so much time hovering the backline, didn't do anything besides lose his beats.
With Serqet, an early pickup for the Storm, a god that we've seen do a lot. Tegveer is just doing a little more, so is Ratmilk. Gets in, gets Biteyyy a second time in the fight. Now a lot of damage thrown back. They have to play carefully. GIobe's going to go down, but Shippigami makes sure to keep on rolling forward. Bitey's dead, Leon's dead, and in the 3v4, Shippigami has to fall back. Good pullback from Slash, but can he get anything done? Shippigami still alive, rolls away, has some damage, and you have to play carefully around him. Stun, not enough on its own, but the damage is there, and that gets Slash the kill. With Hapn going down as well. The Xibalba Storm turned things around, but Mifflin's still too low and not enough to get that enhanced Fire Giant. Just keeps us more or less at a stalemate.
Yeah, it has been back and forth between these teams. Love the micro play there from GIobe. Pops his Aegis to immune the last few ticks of the ultimate from Serqet. Not to survive, but to prevent the poison from spreading to the rest of his team. Just delivers it to a safe spot, so clean play there. And maybe that fight goes much worse for We Ready if GIobe's not making that play. Otherwise, I've seen enough from Shippigami now, and evaluating the builds from Xibalba Storm, I think it might just be worthwhile to sell Deathbringer and buy Aussie. If he had enough lifesteal to just fight indefinitely, it feels like he would, and he would just win. Because the amount of times I've seen him do 50-60% of someone's HP from 5% of his own, maybe an Aussie passive could go a long way. Fire Giant pulled once more. Fire's taken plenty of damage, has not fallen in a good long while. Down to 50%, but it's hovering there.
Hapn pulled in by Slash. Peer pressure, drops the Rivers Rebuke. That's going to be a Phantom Shell in response. Hapn doesn't want to get caught, even just on their own. Xibalba Storm kind of dancing around the Fire Giant right now, not doing too much damage. Get the Pyromancer for themselves. And Mifflin, that is a huge point. They've got 3 runic bombs. 2 of them are on Leon, but 3 in pocket. And you know, you had mentioned earlier, you look up, there's 4 towers for each of these teams mirrored. There's a tier 1 in right still standing for the Storm, tier 1 in left still standing for We Ready. 35 minutes, towers fall super fast. And when you have 3 runic bombs, that is an insta-gib on a Phoenix if you're able to get there. So a little more pressure on We Ready to make sure that this Fire Giant does not go the way of the Storm and to try and hold their own. And you had mentioned it, but I think the little bit of that pressure falling onto Ratmilk, who has done a great job separating things, Tegveer as well. But Shippigami has just been pulling all of the spotlight over towards the carry role, and for good reason.
Yeah, Shippigami, a great run so far, and if he survives a team fight, could even very well just end the game, considering how late we are now, 36 minutes in. Not to zoom us out too far, Gore, but I got to talk itemization for a moment. My eyes glossed over. I saw Brìz pick up a cloak earlier, and I'm like, okay, prophetic cloak, standard, you know, vanilla option there for Baba Yaga. It is not prophetic cloak, Magi's. And I'm not a Magi's hater. Magi's is one of the best items in SMITE. CC immunity that you don't have to use your brain to activate, right? That's amazing. And it's on a short cooldown. Phenomenal. But not getting prophetic cloak on Baba Yaga has got to be a cardinal sin. It really does. It's so much defense that you can stack up immediately. Nobody else in the game just gets stacks for free. Brìz not interested.
So what you're saying is that Brìz is now excommunicated from the Church of Paul. Might have to struggle a little bit there. Rivers Rebuke locks in a few good snipes. from Shippigami. Holds on to the last one to come crashing down a little bit later. Damages Slash like crazy. But Slash once again walks out of this one, stays alive. Same thing can be said for Biteyyy. They're going to be healing up in the back. ELLEON finally finds an isolated target is looking for, but it's Hapn. And Hapn's just bringing him on a chase and letting his team do the talking. Shippigami's the only one with full health, which is an interesting turnaround from what we've seen. No deaths this time around, Miflin, but some heavy investment. And at this rate, I mean, that Fire Giant, every minute that passes becomes even more important. And we're hitting the point where one team fight is what makes the difference. Gold, it's not that separating. Experience, you're level 20s. Like, you've got a 2-level difference in supports, and that maybe hurts Hapn a little bit. But as far as things can go, when we say, hey, if you could drop into a late-game 40-minute team fight with even gold, this is literally what we mean in those circumstances.
Yeah, 500 gold separating either side. That's maybe an upgraded relic here or there. Mostly just wards on map. As Xibalba Storm reassumes the defensive positioning in the Fire Giant pit. I need to see the stalemate broken somehow, some way. And it's not in the team fight because that was a 5-man ultimate from PeerPressuree, and it just didn't work. So it's got to be in map play. Instead, Tegveer forward once more. Massive knockup, but I don't think the fight's got much left in it.
I love what Shippigami's doing.
Unless?
Because it's created low health bars and opportunities. River's Rebuke goes up, but it's not enough to save Biteyyy. A great dive from Tegveer, and Ratmilk get things done, but Ratmilk pays for it. The iron price. So does Tegveer. Double kill finally for ELLEON, picking up on the Serqet. So 1 for 2, low health bars on the Storm. You leave up a few. Miflin, I'm going to ask a question that maybe we'll see answered. An EFG, you had low numbers, but you know they were backing. Maybe it's because Slash has the teleport that it doesn't happen. But with Shippigami alive, maybe an opportunity for We Ready there to start up the Fire Giant, even if they don't all get it. Now they have to play carefully. Steal opportunity low. But capability to do the Fire Giant.
Yeah, look at it. See that HP?
It's
not moving. Yeah, it's not moving. And it's going to be like that for a while. This is going to be a 20-second, maybe 30-second actual confirmed DPS Fire Giant. So Shippigami's back. Hapn's back. Globe had time to go to base. He's back. Fire Giant's not half. If you want fire on the Storm, you kind of need Biteyyy.
Yeah, no damage to quickly shut it down or burn through it the same way that you would if you had, let's say, a Merlin on the other side. Tegveer has teleport as well. Can teleport into this. Pyromancer's getting low. Step forward from Shippigami.
But never
we
zero.
Ready, take it. Oh, and sometimes it's just denying more than picking it up. Highlighted it earlier. 3 runic bombs for Xibalba Storm. If they can step up to it, We Ready. That'll be their 2nd runic bomb in inventory. And Miflin, they've had time not just to reset, to respawn. Everybody's back. Ults are back. Relics, they're almost all back up, save for the stray 1 or 2 on either team. You needed to see a stalemate broken. Somehow we found ourselves right back at it.
Yeah, maybe ELLEON can just go split push now. I mean, double runic bomb. First off, having 2 runic bombs in pocket has got to be one of the worst feelings in Smite, because this late in the game, a Sentry Ward can win you a team fight. So having 2 on ELLEON, miserable. Tier 2 tower is pretty low. ELLEON's been allowed to be a solo agent for the majority of this game anyway. Have him push mid. It's not as if a rotation towards him would cost him too much. Just have the rest of the Storm play safe. Opportunity loss. Slash. Dead.
Good kills, good autos, good snipes, and a great play from Ratmilk, but you gotta give credit where credit's due. It's Shippigami who opens up that one. With Slash gone, now we're having flashbacks to a lot of the early team fights. We ready? Start up the Fire Giant. It's sitting 2/3 HP, dropping slowly but surely as they look for their zone. Shippigami rolls forward, is going for PeerPressuree, has the damage necessary to kill this off, gets picked up by ELLEON and thrown around. Meanwhile, deep on the other side, Biteyyy, Ratmilk trade out their lives. Tegveer's getting low. Yaga doing a lot, misses a couple of these shots, and goes right into the waiting arms of We Ready. And now Brìz, oh no, you can't turn that one around. Shippigami, once again with only a little bit of life, manages to turn that in their favor. 3 for 1 for the kills, but they lose a tier 2. ELLEON doing exactly what you wanted, Mifflin. Split pushes, goes down mid, gets the tier 2. Maybe would have kept going had it not been for the resets from We Ready, the defense that was there. They still have 30 seconds without 2 more members of the Storm. Fire Giant seems like it's easily on the horizon for him.
Yeah, Brìz and Biteyyy, the damage dealers of Xibalba Storm off the map. ELLEON, Peer Pressure, and slaaaaaasH. Not exactly capable of stealing this, I don't think. Fire Giant's going real quick. ELLEON in the pit, but We Ready. Living up to their name once more. Both teams had runic bombs available, and We Ready. Secure with theirs. 1070. Off the back of Tegveer, who has done everything in the team fight. 2, 2, and 13. 15 out of 15 kill participation. That's 100%. Also confirming the objective for his side. You know, Gore, I'm almost certain that ELLEON, right at the offset of that fight, was actually rotating towards mid to split push. But the critical hurdle for a split push jungler in a situation like that is having the rest of your team just play safe and play reactive to the Fire Giant. And slaaaaaasH gets caught immediately by the Shadow Lock, and it's the exact same concern that we had 20 minutes ago. Shadow Lock plus Shippigami, I don't care who you are, you're probably just going to die. This time it's slaaaaaasH. And if slaaaaaasH is falling down to things like that, Spirit Robe damage mitigation, full defense build, upgraded starter, this, that, or the other, that means anybody is going to die to that combo. We Ready, they just have not had concern for their own backline. There has not been threat on them because the backline wins the fight against the divers. ELLEON's gotten back there a few times, eats 3 auto attacks from Shippigami and says, well, I wish I hadn't come back here. And if he can't do it, it's on slaaaaaasH. It's on Brìz to step up, start throwing out some of that damage from the Home Sweet Home. So often we've seen Home Sweet Home used defensively. Get off me, start running away. Use it to start your fight, and you could force a disengage or poke in a little bit of damage and make it easier for the rest of your team to hit pay dirt. Seems like Xibalba Storm are really holding on to their cooldowns until they know a kill is confirmed. But because they all do that, all the relics are always up for We Ready, and there's just about no kill potential when that's the case.
Meanwhile, this has been the starts of fights for We Ready. Snipes from Shippigami, sometimes just to get damage out there. Force some discomfort against the Storm. And they're sieging this left side Phoenix. Enhanced Fire Giant this late in the game. The Phoenix is relatively low, and you had mentioned just get someone in front of Shippigami. Whether it be the Phoenix or a tank, doesn't matter, he's going to kill him. Left side Phoenix goes down. We Ready, surge forward. Ratmilk does get killed off by ELLEON. That's actually a huge pickup for the jungler on the Xibalba Storm. And it forces We Ready to reconsider their odds. They start falling back. Xibalba Storm have to be careful how deep they chase. They're going to slow their own roll. So ELLEON gets a much-needed kill. The Storm managed to salvage what could have been a very devastating push, and now, Mifflin, we're going to go right back out of this power play in about 10 seconds, wait for the Fire Giant to respawn, see what We Ready, and more so what the Storm have to offer us to try and defend.
Yeah, we have spent the better part of 1 hour desperately avoiding the jungler 1v1, at least Ratmilk has.
Yeah. Has
not loved his odds in that 1v1, and he shouldn't. ELLEON's going to win it every single time. Serqet just really good in that matchup, and with the defense, slight defensive build that ELLEON has stacked up for himself, there's just not a whole lot of fight back potential for Ratmilk. So having him split push there, I think a bit concerning. We Ready have one out on every single 5-on-5. I imagine their 5-on-5 siege is still much better just based on composition. So playing around that, I think, should have been prime on their mind. Instead, Ratmilk does give over the 1v1 potential to ELLEON, who snatches it up promptly. But in doing so, loses out on that left side bird. So neither here nor there. After what was a 20-minute dance of the Fire Giant, you would likely do put a little bit more weight on this EFG, and only breaking one of those Phoenixes. Depends on who you ask. I would say maybe not as successful as We Ready would have liked. Either way, though, I did see one thing that has put me in critical frustration, or at least empathetic frustration for Xibalba Storm, and it's the fact that Shippigami was barrel stuffing Brìz in the Phoenix. There should be no world where Shippigami is allowed to get into melee range, especially in a situation like that. Just shows me that Xibalba Storm are either not prioritizing Shippigami, which is a mistake, or they can't, which is
unfortunate.
unfortunate.
That's the worst case scenario. with the damage numbers. I mean, look at that. He's 12,000 damage up on the next highest. And, of course, the next highest is the Baba Yaga. Typically, at least what we've seen more recently, these games, they go longer. The player damage for the carries will translate directly into kills alone. So the mages will have more maybe poke, but Slash will step up, eat 3/4 of his health bar from Shichigami, back up, heal, come back, and do the same thing over again. Maybe giving some damage numbers over to the carry. Runic Bombs, again, in favor of the Storm here. Damage and teamfight potential feels like just historically in favor of We Ready. Got to pay attention to the left side. Fire minions going to be making their way in. They were pinged earlier. Nobody has stepped back to defend. And that might just be a little bit of poke. But when one wave goes in, nobody's backing. A second might go in. And that little bit of poke turns into a lot of Titan damage. So keeping eyes. Nobody's backing still. ELLEON playing patiently, but Mifflin, this is just going to pay off for We Ready in the long term.
Yeah, I think ELLEON needs to make a decision of, do I push into this Phoenix or do I like go back and defend? Because hovering in mid is not getting a whole lot accomplished. If he can at least force one member to say, oh no, is ELLEON going for mid Phoenix and someone has to rotate and defend, would create an opening for Xibalba Storm in the team fight itself. But instead it's clear this wave, go back to hovering. Instead has finally made the rotation and left to defend. We Ready, absolutely privy to it. Brìz removed.
Yeah, just deleted. Good ult coming down from Hapn and great damage from Shichigami from Ratmilk as well. And they get the kill. Tegveer leading the way one more time. Snipes. Connect a few times on the Biteyyy. Force the carry to fall back. 2 clean kills for We Ready. And they get to go get themselves a nice 49-minute fire giant.
Man, the Xibalba Storm have just not figured out how they want to play defense here. There has been poor disengage. The front line is just getting shredded. We Ready, when they decide to fight, Xibalba Storm are caught off guard every single time. And it's been 50 minutes of it. You can't be caught off guard that many times in a row. It's happened so frequently. Now it's We Ready with EFG on 5. It's still 2 dead for half a minute. Xibalba Storm is doing a hard defense.
Aggression onto the mid Phoenix. Burst in an instant. Enhanced Fire Giant doing a lot of work. Still 20 seconds before Brìz is back. And that's going to be the aggression. They don't even care about the kills right now, Mifflin. They're going for the Titan itself. And they've got the damage to do it in 49-37. We Ready. The SOC team strikes first.
That was 50 minutes of We Ready just winning team fights and not quite winning them hard enough to be able to close out the fight. They might get a 3-for-1 trade or a 3-for-2 trade, but it'd be Shichigami that falls down, and then you really can't do a whole lot because it's your ADC. But I don't think I saw a single 5-on-5 engagement in that hour of gameplay that Xibalba Storm convinced me on. They didn't get a single fight started with a Hercules pull, or none of the fights started with Serqet getting someone removed early on in the engagement. There wasn't a lot of space created. I just did not see a whole lot from Xibalba Storm in the proactive. It was a whole lot of, hey, you know, we're not going to lose this team fight. We're not going to lose here. Not a whole lot of, we might win. Playing not to lose, I think, is probably the best way to describe the last 30 minutes from the Xibalba Storm.
And maybe go back to the drawing board, figure out what they need to do to address it. Shichigami. That's my thoughts. Address Shichigami, and maybe you address the team fights a little bit better. We'll see what they end up doing, but it's a first strike, first blood, everything you would want here for the SOC and their opportunity to try and fight into the SCC. We'll find out if they can do it in 2 or the Xibalba Storm will answer back right after this.
Shake it up.
Yeah, feel me? You feel me? No cash on me. Swipe for a milli. Yeah, feel me? You feel me? Walk in the door. Shake up the building. Yeah, shake it up, shake it out, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up. Ooh, yeah, shake it up, 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 shake it up. Don't care, cash got cars. No lean on my cars. Carhartt on my heart. Tattoo on my scars. Tattoo my new scars. My life has been hard. See me in the light. I was in the dark. I wake up, I send it. I wake up, I spend it. I drive Chevy, no Benzes. See me slide, not tenant. My house, yeah, I own that. Your house, yeah, it's rented. Started where the flow at. Now I top the building, yeah.
Well, if you're just joining us an hour in, we just had a 50-minute game where the SOC team, that's right, We Ready, were able to topple the Xibalba Storm. At least in game one, we'll figure out how the rest of the set is going to go in just a short minute. Right now, I want to make sure that you know about Skulls. That's right, not just the thing like in your noggin, but the people who provide us a lot of beautiful, beautiful merchandise. And it's going to be all of your SBL jerseys, your SBL hoodies, as well as a ton of good t-shirts and other merchandise that you can get there. Official merchandise for the SBL and for SMITE esports in general. You can go to shop.highresstudios.com/SBL or shop.smiteproleague.com, and it'll take you to where you need to be. I am absolutely blown away. My Skulls t-shirts are some of my favorite t-shirts to wear. Like, the fabric is just so cozy. It makes it very comfortable. The fit is really good. And so I can very, very wholeheartedly say that the t-shirts are great, the jerseys are great, and I think the hoodie designs are phenomenal. So thank you to Skulls for providing merchandise, and thank you to everyone out there who's repping your favorite SPL teams, and of course they appreciate that just as much as we do. And right now, maybe not fighting for the SPL yet, but trying to get into the SCC is We Ready. Trying to hold on to that spot is the Xibalba Storm, Mifflin. But the Xibalba Storm, I mean, you had mentioned it, 30 minutes of playing not to lose is how you had described it, as opposed to what We Ready were doing, which was fighting at every given opportunity they could.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few moments from the Storm where, you know, they're behind, but they're still getting proactive around the Fire Giant. And I think that was a line of play that they likely should have stuck to instead of ceding positioning to We Ready at every single turn, because at the end of the game, and with hindsight, I don't think there's a single role here where We Ready was outperformed. Every single role simply played better, at least in the team fight. The 5-on-5 engagement legitimately did not go Xibalba Storm's way a single time. So adaptations as we go into game two for Xibalba Storm, I think you highlighted just at the end of that cast there. Can't let Shippigami have a legacy game, first off and foremost. Maybe something then get into that backline a little bit more easily. Peer pressure on the Yemoja looked really good for the first, like, 10 levels. In the dual lane in particular, a couple great ultimates, something we don't see too often, is just hovering around that shield buff and then throwing it up through the walls. That was amazing and looked really good. Locked down the jungler a few times, but otherwise that Yemoja really struggled in the late game. Don't think I saw him in the front of a team fight ever. He was always trying his best to peel out with the Riptide getaway driver style. Not exactly what you want to see from one of your dedicated frontliners. The Cupid pick, maybe it's just something Biteyyy likes. But unfortunately for Biteyyy, that's not something the meta likes right now. And so the Cupid, I think, struggled a little bit more than I would have liked as well. Whereas on the other hand, if I look at We Ready, more of that, please. Just do it again.
Run it back. If you're going to put up almost 54,000 damage and go 8-2-7 to Shippigami, and your front line is doing whatever it takes to make sure you stay like that, yeah, you can play whatever you want. And I'm going to back it. I think Ratmilk as well. I mean, there was a period of time where we were talking about it, 3 levels down to ELLEON, struggling a little bit in terms of experience, never in terms of map pressure. I have to give Slash some credit. They had well, actually it was the turnaround from We Ready in the first blood that caused maybe a little bit of turmoil over in the solo lane. But after that, you were just a late game Hercules trying to get a lot done. Unfortunately, Shippigami put it into pretty much any presence that you could have. We'll see how things change in picks and bans game number 2. Storm are going to be first pick this time, changes a little bit, but it was a first pick Nox for We Ready, something that we're not used to seeing. And you had actually highlighted this coming into this, but this is that level where at some point, you know, like there's going to be some meta bans, meta picks, but also if that dude's just really good at this god, get it for him, and it's not going to change too much. And there were a lot of jungle bans from the Xibalba Storm that maybe limited more of what they wanted. Getting Serqet, I don't think is ever considered a massive limit, but it definitely changed, I think, the landscape of the jungle that we got to see.
It did, but now with Xibalba Storm in the first pick position, which direction do they go? I think getting ELLEON onto something priority would be a good way to start things off. We know ELLEON is a Thor player, we know he's an Xbalanque player, and those two have been pretty dominant at the SPL level recently. But with so much available on field, instead, it's going to be shot towards the god selections of We Ready. Nox taken for themselves, and if I need to sing the praises of Nox, you haven't been paying very much attention. It's a whole lot of CC lockdown, it's damage mitigation, it's good survivability in lane, but most importantly, it is non-committal initiation. Shadow Lock from a range is just going to work in the late game.
You have to imagine going from Susano to Thor, which is banned by the Storm last time around. We Ready, and specifically Ratmilk. We've seen what he can do with semi-level ults. I'm excited to see what this one can do, and then you go back to the Ram. I don't think we need to go much further into that. Vamana does get picked up in the top 6 this time, and the other jungler the Storm had banned out, which was the Batz, locked in alongside it. Now, Vamana we had talked a lot about, to the point of surprise that he made it to the bottom 2 bans. Now he gets picked up alongside a Batz and a Nox. How do you feel about the Storm's top 3?
I think it is a strong composition.
Yeah.
Let me get that out of the way, and then now I'm going to open myself up to criticism from the fans and perhaps the SEC players themselves. I feel like when you have a team like Xibalba Storm, and I'm talking about the players, not the composition, there is one guy who stands above the rest, and it's pretty clear. ELLEON is the win condition of this team.
Yeah.
When I think Xibalba Storm dub, I'm imagining a 10-1 performance on Xbalanque, a 15-2 on Mercury, a Thor game that he just dominates from start to finish. Batz is not that guy. Batz ain't that guy.
No.
Batz is going to roll up and say, I got your beads.
Morgan Le Fay.
Circle back in 45 seconds. I'll try again. That's about it. I'd like to see Xibalba Storm play to the strength of their players as opposed to maybe the meta. Great composition, though. I mean, let's get that out of the way. First and foremost, great composition. Nox, Vamana, Morgan Le Fay, Xbalanque, all picks that are highly contested in the SPL. All picks that get things done. Their ease of execution is very high. This is not a draft that needs a PhD in SMITE to be able to pilot. This is a composition that could very well play itself. And so that does inspire a little bit of confidence in me. One of the primary weaknesses of the Xibalba Storm in the previous game was their 5-on-5 engagement. This one is much easier to execute on.
Meanwhile, the other side, Ganesh we see if you're a roar in the SPL, otherwise not seen too often. Thor is a little further down the list than what we're seeing here. And Ram is actually pretty high up there. Otherwise, they're just playing them. They got a Janus, and they go back to the Kukula and a lot of things that were successful. Some new things as well for We Ready. We'll see how that all shakes out in Game 2. 1 game away, Mifflin, from winning the set and being 1 step closer. Again, there's a lot of games going on today. 4 teams in a round robin. Top 2 will move forward to the SCC. Xibalba Storm trying to fight and maintain that spot, but a 1-0, not just in the game here, but if you could get this win in the set for We Ready, it could be massive in terms of what it is going to imply and give you that step closer. Janus, I want to talk about him of all things because I feel like everything else we've seen just enough to be able to know about. And so, compared to like a Morgan Le Fay, which we've seen occasionally, has some good range damage, what are you expecting from GIobe this time around?
From GIobe? Expectations for Janus are low. From me. Yeah. Unfortunately, Gore, you're stuck with the certified Janus hater of the casting team. Janus is an assassin with magical damage. Just plays as a solo agent in that back line. ELLEON doesn't have the leap, so GIobe will make his way out of there. I mean, it's decent poke damage. There's a little bit of global presence, the ability to reposition, but it's not like how a Horus does it. Just from ahead, Janus great. From behind, Janus not going to do a whole lot. That's my projection.
Yeah, he, oh man. It's just, in the right hands, he does so well. It looks so good. GIobe has to do a little bit to showcase those the right hands. Does showcase one of the reasons that he is really, really solid, and that is that he can just walk through walls. And so until that leap is available, until ELLEON's going to be getting more maybe hyper-aggressive, probably going to be fine right there. I do have to ask about jungle rotations, especially considering what we might be seeing. It looks like it's just the cooldown buff. ELLEON last time put a lot of his presence on the right-hand side of the map and ended up causing, I think, a little bit of trouble for his team, right? Maybe focusing mostly on getting Slash ahead. You had mentioned it at the beginning of last one. Do you want to see him on the right-hand side as much this time around, or do you want to see him start to cycle over towards left, see if he can get the dual lane, especially considering what we know Shippigami is capable of?
Yeah, I think anywhere you can get anything done is pretty significant for ELLEON, but as far as ease of getting something done, it's not impossible to deal with a Chulainn, especially when you do have a Vamana on your side. He can tank the tower indefinitely, Vamana that is. Otherwise, Shippigami's simple answer, of course. You really want to rotate over towards him. Instead, it's pressure onto the blue buff. ELLEON forced into the tower. Ooh! Double tap off the mark. But the blue buff had already been taken, and so Ratmilk and Tegveer will simply walk themselves away here. I don't think Slash has got enough in tank to actually deal with Ratmilk, and that TP away should secure it. Now it's just about whether or not Slash can steal away the blue buff. And if you'd already taken the enemies, losing a bit of farm to your tower, acceptable but unnecessary, and they'll confirm that one for themselves as well. So to answer the question, the original question, Gore, where would I like to see ELLEON? Rotations to dual lane, I think great. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be a priority target. You don't need to kill Shippigami to slow down Shippigami. Go kill Hapn. That'll do it too. Go steal some buffs. That'll do it too. Doesn't necessarily have to be kills on field. But as it stands, it might just be that ELLEON feels like he has to continue to rotate back towards Slash because he has just been getting, and got to use a gamer term here, he's just getting owned right now. My man is straight pwned in that lane. He has not been able to leave his tower. He's already used his teleport to get back to lane. And he's a good ways off from finishing up that golden blade. Might have the gold, but going back to base right now would be tough.
Whoa! Gets taken down. Good aggression from ELLEON with the ult. And damage follow through from Brìz. Gets the first blood for the mid laner on the mid laner. And the Storm starting things off right this time. But I also can't get over the fact that I just heard you say pwned. I can't remember the last time I
2023.
I mean, that's the best way to describe what happened to GIobe right there. I mean, that was just absolute dominance from the Storm. The beads are burned now, so I mean, we'd kind of joked about it, but now ELLEON knows in about 90 seconds to rotate on over and do it again.
Yeah, but GIobe's got some answers. If he's playing near a wall, his ultimate is actually very good at dealing fear no evil. Slash forward. I don't know if you could do that. All right. No, I mean, if he just kept walking through the jungle, maybe he would have got away, walking directly into the damage. Tries to return a bit, but with no rotations for himself, there's no way he could have turned that fight. Just outplayed on map. I suppose maybe that's a checkmate. Maybe he got checkmated by positioning. Slash is needing a bailout, though. This has been a rough set from him so far.
Yeah, an unfortunate turn in game one that gave We Ready first blood. This time they get first blood for the Xibalba Storm elsewhere on the map. And I'm going to be honest with you. I saw Ratmilk throw down the wall, and when Slash walked through it, I thought, that's going to be it. You're out of there now. You're fine. Then I remembered there's a Janus. And I think he did too, where suddenly your mid laner can rotate a lot better. And that actually brings me to, I guess, the conversation around him. We might have to put a pause on that. Blue buff invade. Successful at that from We Ready. I'm sorry, from the Xibalba Storm onto We Ready. And it's just a little bit of XP, but it goes a long way. But looking toward the Janus, and specifically where he lives in this meta more than anything, it's actually Venenu that I think of, because I feel like he played it a few times, and he just likes rotating. Like, I mean, he's playing it, when he plays it, you called it, and he's an assassin with magical damage. That's the way we've seen it find success in mid lane. It's not in mid lane. You need to be rotating, you need to be elsewhere, you need to be doing the map as opposed to the lane.
Yeah, and it's a difficult edge to traverse, right?
Yeah.
Do I need to rotate now and get involved in the side lanes? If I do, am I sacrificing farm in mid? The answer is yes, but what has Janus accomplished sitting in mid? Realistically, what has he accomplished? He's not good at poking. He clears waves just fine. He's not pressuring your tower. He's relatively short range, and he doesn't have a great solo ultimate. Like when I think of like some of the mid laners that are great at boxing in lane, Morgan Le Fay, her ultimate is, okay, well, now you're dead because you were in kill threshold, or maybe it's a Kraken, maybe it's Searing Pain, maybe it's something like that. These ultimates that can completely turn around neutral camp fights, or fights around the mid camps, or fights around the red buff. Janus' ultimate doesn't do that either. So rotations and catching people off guard is the only way for Janus, in my mind, to get involved in PvP for the first 10 to 12 levels. Because he is legitimately just not great in lane unless you're just dominant and completely diffing your opponent. And these teams are relatively evenly matched, and I'm not seeing that happening anytime soon. So I'd like to see GIobe start making some of those rotations sooner rather than later. What Janus is very good at, however, is stealing enemy camps. He can walk into your back camps, take them, and then ult out if the need should arise. So the ability to be a jungler isn't just ganking lanes, it's also playing on map and taking away some of that farm. So I'll be keeping my eyes on GIobe. For the most part, he's kind of just hanging out. He's just hanging out in the mid lane, farming up, waiting for the late game. And if nothing's happening anywhere else and he's not needed, I mean, it's fine. It's absolutely fine to do it. And his team isn't exactly suffering anyway. A slight lead to them.
Despite going down for first blood, he's actually up in experience. Nothing too crazy, I think, for either of these squads right now, but that first blood bounty kind of neglected. So we ready? Up into the air. Right now for Ratmilk. Dunk comes down, forces Brìz into the ult. Hammers out of there. Good shot from the Nox. Leon's here. There's going to be the Fear No Evil overhand smash, and that is the kind of kill you need to pick up right now if you are Leon. 1-0-1 for the jungler. Matches his mid laner and has a level advantage over the Thor.
I wonder, did Ratmilk have access to wall there? Was it available? If it was, he catches that overhand smash. I think that would have been the final hurdle for him to disengage. Instead, an attempted ultimate from the Thor, immediately countered by Brìz. Ult for ult, that's going to work every single time. If you want to force beads, it's going to have to be something else, maybe some portals from Janus, maybe some rotations from Hapn, because Anvil of Dawn simply ain't going to do it up against Morgan Le Fay so long as she has that cooldown available. And so, a valuable lesson learned for We Ready. If Ratmilk wants to get involved, it's got to be somewhere else. That was a 2v1, Gore. And Tegveer's juking him. He's got to be dead. Okay.
He's got to die. Leon's going to pick that one up, but you got to imagine Slash isn't feeling too great. Dharmic Pillars get a lot of damage out there. Peer pressure, no mana to work with.
He's dead.
Should be easily killed. Good root, good lockdown. Shippigami picks one up in the duo lane. And an unfortunate position now for Biteyyy to be put into. Half health, no mana, no support. Sitting under tier 1, just hoping for the best. It's good aggression right now from We Ready. And while I think looking at Shippigami getting a kill, specifically in the duo lane, and having it only be the duo lane, no junglers involved, nothing, it's just the two-man split, I feel like that's partially important. But you gotta talk about Slash, right? Tegveer's in the one, like it's Leon and Slash, and he still gets the kill. He makes it what should have been an easy gank into a 1-for-1.
And I'm glad you bring up Slash, because we had already had a conversation in the previous match about breaking cardinal building sins. I'm going to go ahead and put my eyes onto Slash's build, and maybe I've got the constitution, the strength of stomach to look at this. It's Hasten Katana first slot. What is going on here, man? You can't clear waves. You're already getting dominated in lane. And now you can stick to your enemy a little bit harder. Doesn't it feel like Golden Blade would have helped him out on wave clear at least a little bit, or confirming his own buffs, or maybe stealing away any enemy buffs, or getting additional value on your AoE auto attacks, or maybe something. There might be a reason every Vamana player that's ever piloted that god ever in your lane at every level of play, I'm talking Bronze to Masters, SOC to SPL, every level of play, every Vamana player has universally agreed that there is one item that should be in that slot, and Slash said, hold on guys, I'm different. Here's the thing about you and how you're not me. You aren't. And he locks in the hastened. Maybe his rotation's out of lane. Maybe he's going to go get involved in the duo lane because it ain't going to work against Tegveer. Tegveer would love to fight you. I can't tell you what that's for.
Well, might not be a correlation, but probably heavily implied. Has the hasten katana.
Yep.
It is also 0 and 2. So
okay.
maybe they're linked. Maybe it's just a coincidence. We'll have to keep watching how the lane goes. Like you said, if Tegveer's going to love this fight, he's going to keep taking it. Goes for the contagion very early. We talked a bit about that last game. Works out pretty well here. Good pickup from the Storm. Pyromancer started on spawn, and they're going to pick that one up with relative ease. But it's an answer back from We Ready. Onto the Gold Fury. Darming Pillars helps them burn it. But the lights turned off, and more so the vision there. Almost from Biteyyy. Almost. Oh, but Mifflin almost doesn't cut it. We Ready. Still able to secure the Gold Fury. Go objective for objective. And make sure that this gold stays even.
Yeah, clean play. That was very dangerous on the objective secure there. Once the lights go out, makes it difficult to know who's nearby, and Biteyyy nearly able to strip down away, but We Ready. A bit better this time around. I believe it was the hammer from Ratmilk that secures that. And speaking of Ratmilk, in a similar position as Game 1 in that he is just not farming as well as ELLEON on the other side. But an entire level lead for ELLEON, has access to second relic, whereas Ratmilk only has the beads. But one of the strengths of Thor is that he is one of the few assassins. There are maybe 2 or 3 assassins in Smite that just don't build blink. Doesn't matter. Don't even look at the enemy team. Don't need to evaluate whether or not you can or you can't. Thor just doesn't use blink. There's not a whole lot of reason for him to do it. And so, has beads in first slot, will have access to that survivability regardless. That said, though, now that ELLEON has got beads, could be a little bit easier. I'm going to rotate, try and shut down Hapn. Maybe try and deal with Tegveer a little bit more so. I take that back. Don't go to Tegveer. He's very tanky. Instead, GIobe, get both of his relics.
Oh, and they stop him from getting through the portal on top of that. Oh, they get the relics, and they get the kill, Mifflin. We Ready lose their mid laner. Leon, relatively deep, did use Fear No Evil. You had mentioned whether or not they could go for Tegveer. And Tegveer right now is bullying Slash, so Slash might need the help.
Oh, it's Slash's turn.
It's aggressive.
Hastens, baby! Yeah!
Keeps him there till the tower line. Thwarts things. Shipigami up in the air. Snipe doesn't connect.
2?
2 does. 3 has to hit here.
Ooh.
Waits out the dash, but Jin just a little off the mark. Great play by Biteyyy.
Uh-oh.
But can you escape it? The second time, dunk off the mark, but the spin from Ratmilk is there. Makes up for the missed snipes from Shipigami. Covers the option, gets the kill, keeps us tied 4-4, 13.5 in.
My heart goes out to Biteyyy because he did the hard part twice. He juked the globals twice. Unfortunately for him, had lost the fight so hard in his own tower that it doesn't matter in 2 ticks of spin. All that's required of Ratmilk to secure that kill. For now, We Ready. Going to spin their wheels. Not a whole lot to fight over on map. Pyromancer and Gold Fury off. And Tier 1 tower already taken in duo, so Shipigami perhaps in a situation where he's going to be suffering from success. Biteyyy might be well suited just keeping the wave as close to his Tier 2 tower as possible. Instead, now, it's on the rest of the Xibalba Storm to start getting things rolling. Biteyyy just going to be suffering at the hands of Shipigami for the next few minutes. I'm keeping my eyes on ELLEON. He's had a good performance so far. 100% kill participation, 2-0-2, has been dealing with Globe's relics consistently. Maybe another rotation towards that mid lane could be a way forward for Xibalba Storm. But that said, and something I brought up earlier, and we haven't seen it just yet, Globe hard counters Hunbots. That is one of Janus' strengths, is that Hunbots has a really hard time playing into Janus in the laning phase because Janus can just hover near walls, and Janus is going to do that anyway because his entire kit is contingent on walls existing. And using that ultimate would allow him to escape every time, but instead he's using it aggressively. Peer pressure, cut in half by that anti-tank rifle that is Janus' ultimate.
Ooh, Darming Pillars. Matt with a blink from Leon. Dunk
Need
from
the wall.
Ratmilk just off the mark, but there's the wall. And then the teleport forward as well. Leon
Is that
tries
fire?
to get away, and they can't get out of there. 15 minutes in, grouping like this on right. You got your carry.
It could be fire.
It could be fire, but it seems like they're playing safe this time, Mifflin. Pyromancer's the call. And it's going to be an easy secure at that.
Yeah, surprised it wasn't Fire Giant. I'm thinking to myself, Shinigami's here. He's already got kin size. Slash is not a tank. It's like just Phalanx over there for now. Could have been that you force a rotation, potentially take the fight afterward. Instead, Pyromancer in trade for tier 1 tower on the left. Biteyyy able to fight back while Shinigami has vacated the lane. Dad's not home. I'll go ahead and do whatever I want, right? Push out that tower. But now a tier 1 gone on left for both teams. It brings a little bit extra entropy to the duo lane where now Shinigami, if he so chooses, can leave the wave at his own tier 2 and continue rotating across the map, or potentially looking towards that Primal Fury. Oracle Vision does belong to Xibalba Storm, though, so there's nothing We Ready could do without the Storm being privy to it. So now, we're starting to approach that 16, 17, 18-minute mark where it kind of just becomes about the team fight. SMITE evolves from the laning phase almost entirely to this 5-man death ball. That was one of the primary strengths of We Ready in Game 1, was their ability to execute on that play style just a bit better. And already, 5 stacked are We Ready. Primal Fury going real quick.
Should have this. Well, maybe not as easily as they thought. Leon's nearby. Tegveer takes a little bit of poke at the beginning. Blink forward from Leon. Fear no evil's great. Good damage. And they get rid of Hapn in an instant. Nice knockups from Tegveer, but it's not enough. Doesn't get a lot done. Now you can see, what can this Hasten Katana do now that
That's
you're on
what
a
it does.
carry? And it gets you some damage onto GIobe. The Janus forced out. Shinigami, still full health. Able to return some damage out there onto the members of the Storm. But it's 5v3. Make it a 5v2. No, Brìz finally gets the kill.
Shinigami has ult.
Looked like some good jukes from
There we go.
for a while. Goes into the air. Snipes. You got to wait out the Aegis.
Nice
Misses the
try.
last one, but good shots. As you said, good attempt. Still going to get aggressive. They've got what they need. Bitey's just gone.
Wild.
Maybe stays too long. Leon in the 1v2. Shinigami does not seem to have any concern for his own life. Marches anyone he can down. Forces them to fall back. And Mifflin, even though I would say We Ready lost the fight, they're still the ones who are starting up the Primal Fury.
Yeah, well, I had said at the beginning of this set, one player can diff a lobby. Absolutely, especially when it's not as coordinated as maybe some of the SPL teams have been playing. This time, that player is Shinigami. If you haven't killed Shinigami at the end of the team fight, Gore, I don't think you can call it a win for Xibalba Storm, because he just sticks around, just keeps things rolling. And let's zoom out a little bit, because I know everyone's probably hyper-focused on exactly just Shinigami and what he was doing in the tail end of that engagement. The entire time, Ratmilk, after that fight, was dropped to about 5% HP. He doesn't go back to base. He had time to return to base, rotate back, take a fight, return to base, and rotate back. That's how long that dance was around the Gold Fury. Instead, he just rotates through the entirety of the right side of the map and farms up. Closes up that level gap with ELLEON because he trusted Shinigami to somehow diff a 1v4 engagement, 2v4, whatever you want to call it. And it was the right call, question mark. Somehow that trust between Ratmilk and Shinigami was well-founded. And things do go We Ready's way once more. With all that said, though, we did get one silver lining for the Storm, and it was Slash. That ultimate now, the Colossal Fury, we're starting to get to the late game where you're not exactly concerned about whether or not it was Golden Blade or Hasten Katana throughout the early. Now it's just a Hasten Katana Vamana, relatively late into the build. Means that he's going to be highly threatening to GIobe. But the interaction that we saw between them was 4 auto attacks from Vamana. GIobe walked through a wall, and Vamana can't do that. So that was about his entirety of the contribution of Slash to that team fight. It's about catching GIobe after the portal. It's about catching GIobe after the ultimate. That's what I'm going to keep my eyes on. And without Blink, it's going to be real hard to do because it's beats Vamana. Not something you see too often.
No, it's going to be difficult, but it could avoid some of the troublesome CC that we already have. also don't think I'd mind if he was just on Shippigami, but that's a
Shippigami wins that fight.
That's a very thin, a very thin line. It might be GIobe and Ratmilk you can bully. Anybody else gonna be a little too much. Either too tanky or Shippigami's Shippigami right now, man. I don't know what it is.
He hits his autos.
Whatever he had for breakfast, give him that every competitive day that you're ever gonna have, man. It has been on point. You had mentioned it, like not just hitting his autos, but it's the fearlessness. That's what's really getting to me. It's the I have 5% HP and I'm gonna roll at you anyway.
Why was he still here?
Slash unfortunately caught out over here.
What?
And Shippigami showcases what the damage he can do.
What?
He's capable of.
Gore, he watched all 5 of them walk into the tier 2 tower. He watched them kill the tower.
Yeah.
He didn't get caught. It wasn't a wall that like, kept him stuck there or anything. He watched him kill the tower and then he watched him kill him. Slash is really struggling on this Vamana pick, man.
It leaves some openings for We Ready. They lose a tier 2 in mid, though, so good split push by the Storm. Fire Giant started up by We Ready, but they drop it in favor of the fight. Silence, good onto Peer Pressure. Up into the sky goes Ratmilk. Snipes are good. Dunk is good as well. Good damage. Great shot from GIobe as well. Opens up the door. A great Aegis from Ratmilk keeps him alive just long enough to pull Leon deeper in now. The chase is on. Shippigami's just waiting for him on the other side. There's nowhere you can go that feels safe there.
Oh, Phoenix.
And unfortunate, but they are losing pressure. And as you mentioned, a Phoenix from Biteyyy. If you can't win the team fight, you got to win the map. That's the way Biteyyy wants to play it.
That is a good trade for Xibalba Storm. I think that's potentially the best play they could have made, was knocking down that left side bird. So well played to the Storm to keep We Ready locked down. Whether or not they can prevent this Fire Giant from going down really does tip those scales, and Slash just enough to do it on his own. Clean stuff. We Ready. They won the team fight, but lose the small battle. Xibalba Storm now will be benefiting from passive map state pressure. Left side, the most valuable Phoenix, and so difficult to defend while simultaneously defending the Fire Giant. That is massive for the Storm.
Yeah.
I don't think they've won a team fight yet this game, but they are significantly ahead. They've got every bit of map state advantage. That's all macro. That's 100% macro because it hasn't been the micro a single time. Well played to the Storm.
You have to think Oni Fury as well to boot. Like, fire Oni minions on left. You've just given yourself a lot of free time on right that you're going to be in either a 5v4 or some time to rest, relax, reset, ultra up, maybe get that Aegis, the beads up for the people who are missing them on the Storm. Is your other option. The good news, if you are We Ready, is that you've got a lot of people with some really good mobility. So Janus is going to be over there trying to clear out some of these waves. Fire Giant not picked up. And Mifflin, I'm going to ask you if you're as surprised by this as I am, because Slash stepped up to defend and I believe had Brìz kind of in the neighborhood. Most of the time when Slash has stepped up, We Ready have just opted to kill him. So, not doing that around the Fire Giant felt big. Good shot from GIobe. And that's from the other side of the planet. Dunk in from Ratmilk. They want this fight, and they're going to take it. Brìz goes down, and shots from Shippigami, who's running forward. Now the snipes come true, and they help Ratmilk pick up the kill onto Biteyyy. 2 gone, and it's the carries. And now the duo lane in its entirety gone on the other side. GIobe
Don't go to that.
throws up the portal, trying to maybe juke out, bait out what Slash is going to do. Keeping Slash preoccupied and keeping himself alive. Portals away. Fire Giant started up by We Ready. Leon. No ults to his name. Blink is ready. Beads are there. And they've got the pressure. Slash goes in. Shippigami dealing the damage. Takes Slash to about half health. The hastens, making sure he can stick on to people, but not well enough. We Ready. Still holding on to the Fire Giant. Just under half health. Leon. Slash. Hanging out. The longer they wait, the closer Leon gets to having his ult. Teleports in, gets taken down by Shippigami. We Ready. Then get the Fire Giant. Move forward. But they decide, play it a little more patient, Mifflin. Get the Fire Giant, get the kills, win the fight, grab the Pyro, and then back away.
You know, in that entire engagement, it's We Ready dominating on the dive, and the whole while my eyes are glued to the minimap, just watching Slash chase GIobe legitimately from GIobe's own Tier 2 tower all the way to the solo lane Tier 1 tower, but could not quite keep up with them. And if that's the case and you got to choose one of them to not be in the team fight, would I rather lose my Janus in the 5-on-5 or 4-on-4, I should say, or would I rather lose my Vamana? I think I'd rather lose the Janus. Yeah. I don't think I care nearly as much.
He hit the ult.
Yeah, he hit the ult on the support, and I was happy with Janus's output from there. Whereas from slaaaaaasH, you gotta have the Colossal Fury to. You're not gonna kill Shiπigami, but you can tank him up for a little bit and perhaps distract him, so that the rest of your team can start dealing with Shiπigami. Because legitimately, Shiπigami is the only one that's going to survive more than 10 to 15 auto attacks from the Rama at this point. So, GIobe diffed slaaaaaasH in that fight just by running away from him. I think that's the analysis. That's where I'm at on that.
He's 1-3-3, but sometimes your presence is felt more than in the KDA, and I think that's what GIobe has been able to provide. Sometimes your presence is felt exactly in the KDA. Ratmilk 5-2-5, 2-1-9 for Tegveer, but. Come on, man. He's the talk of the town for a reason. Shiπigami 6-0-5. Top damage in the last game. And it was because of a performance like this. Top damage this game, so it's not even just last hitting. He's getting the work done. Of course, you have to give credit to the front line and to GIobe for distracting maybe some frontliners on the other side. Creating opportunities for the carry to look good. Now, Mifflin 5 strong with Fire Giant. They got a minute. A little over a minute and a half on the power play, and they're going to take down the tier 2 and left. What are Phoenix opportunities here for them? 25, 26 now minutes in.
Pretty decent so long as you can keep Shiπigami on it. And he's not struggling, is he?
Look, if they turn off the lights and they say, well, you can't see any of the players, you shoot for the one thing you know you can see, and it's the Phoenix. And the Phoenix alone gets the autos, finds it. Fear no evil. Good on to Shiπigami, but not good enough to lock him down. Gets rid of Hapn, and then up into the sky, snipes. Onto the carries in the back for Shiπigami. Comes down to a dangerous position, but the team's still hanging around to keep him alive. They lose Hapn. Don't trade out any kills, but get the Phoenix to make up for, albeit they're respawned, but still weakened left side Phoenix from earlier in the game. I mean, Mifflin, you called it earlier. There was a map state win for the Xibalba Storm during a split push. They go for the team fight, and just like every other one, things don't go well. We Ready put themselves in a favorable position. It's 14-8, 27 minutes in, and about 4,000 gold in favor of the Chaos team.
And this time now, it's left side Phoenix for We Ready that has been taken away, or for the Storm, rather. They lose theirs. So Enhanced Minion Wave is going to be leaking their way to the left side of the map, and what remains of the structures for Xibalba Storm could be dealt with even before the Fire Giant wears off, or respawns, I should say. We're 15 seconds away from the buff waning. Tier 1 tower in mid. I think a decent spot for We Ready to put some pressure. Can control the rotations of Xibalba Storm, prevent them from establishing defensive positioning around the Fire Giant. You can utilize your Runic Bomb to at least deal with that structure. And considering a siege is one great way to make sure a team fight does happen, and considering 2 games in a row now, every single team fight that has happened has come up We Ready. I think anything you could do to force a team fight is just the correct call for the Chaos team. Hapn needs to play cautiously here. Peer pressure hovering nearby. Shadowlock still very threatening, and Hapn will put some respect on it. 3 levels up out of support, the only level disparity in the game, and it's going to be there for a while, Gore. It's real hard to get experience on support. So 15, now 16 for peer pressure. Might be a couple minutes till he hits 17.
It feels like mage supports double that as well, right? Just difficult to be involved. You don't want to be at a minion wave when the Fire Giant's up as one of the frontliners. Storm. We'll see how much that either hurts them, maybe helps them, having peer pressure around. They're looking for something here. Shadowlock, as you mentioned. With beads up. For a few players on We Ready. Gives that opportunity over. Mifflin, this one stalemate. I mean, we're a minute 20 out from this becoming an enhanced Fire Giant. Wouldn't be surprised if it waits just long enough to do exactly that. Meanwhile, We Ready, trying to be proactive on the map wherever they can. Get the Pyromancer. 2 Runic Bombs in pocket. And they've got a whole heap of Fire Minion waves. Or Fire Minions, at least, making it in to the Titan room. Forcing Vamana back, teleport available.
It's not upgraded.
Which this late. Very interesting, honestly. If you have it and it's not, I mean, you're not having to match teleports or rotations from Tegveer, but could make a big difference if a fight starts out in the next 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah, he's revealed himself on wave now. We ready. Have got their beads back, which was, I believe, what they were waiting for. And so Fire Giant, the call. Ratmilk up to the air. He's spotted ELLEON. Doesn't care, though.
Goes for the dunk. Forces two to feel uncomfortable. Biteyyy had to use the Aegis just now. ELLEON goes in, Fear No Evil. Eats a lot of damage in his health bar, and it's just the chase down can happen. Can Shippigami, can somebody find the jungler for the Storm and shut him down? Doesn't seem to be able to find that chase. Instead, it's elsewhere. They're going to find their pressure. The dual lane falls down. Brìz, a couple more autos. That's all you need. Tegveer is leading the way. A leap over the wall, and a salmon finds him. Gets the kill. And unfortunately for slaaaaaasH, you're now
got it, right?
the last
Okay.
bit. He actually gets the kill, and he's going to keep standing. This health bar's doing a lot of work right now for slaaaaaasH. Gets a lot of return damage. Forces We Ready to fall back. Stays alive as the Vamana. Meanwhile, Hapn, Shippigami, they've been up to, well, the only thing you could be up to at this point. Enhanced Fire Giant on 4 members of We Ready with a fight to boot and a map state to favor them.
It seems like the Vamana can get a whole lot done when Shippigami isn't staring him down. And so slaaaaaasH survives at 5% for 40 seconds, or what feels like 40 seconds. Obviously an exaggeration there, but Vamana showing the value of this pick now in the late game. But with that said, Enhanced Fire Giant going to all 4 members of We Ready. Ratmilk still 10 seconds of the grayscale to think about how he had fallen. I just don't see the defense going well for the Storm. A lot of it rides on ELLEON and Brìz, almost in its entirety. Brìz for connecting his damage, ELLEON his ultimate. The best CC tool available to Xibalba Storm, and the only one that's really going to burn any beads here. And so you need a 2, maybe 3, 4 man. Fear No Evil. You need Brìz connecting with Shippigami. And Morgan Le Fay is capable of doing it. Her poke, especially that third ability, such decent range. Shippigami could struggle up against it. But it's a significant grouping in the jungle. All 5 members of the Storm here. Tegveer has been spotted. I'm not so certain Tegveer has done any of the spotting himself. Peer pressure blows up the spot. Tegveer realizes maybe how lucky he was to skirt death there. Instead, it will start the fight that is around the left-hand side. Are we ready? 5 stacked. Now ELLEON back to base. A slight opening, but We Ready not privy of it. I think all We Ready need to do is wait out Fear No Evil. If they survive Fear No Evil, they're good. So perhaps just wait for it to go down, then fully initiate, fully engage. Until then, it's just about peppering damage and seeing what you can force.
Just looking at the KDAs for the duo lane, 6-2 and 18 combined for We Ready. If you put Hapn and Shippigami together. Other side, 0-9 and 8. Just an unfortunate performance right now for PeerPressuree and for Biteyyy. You had mentioned pressure, though. Fire Giant is
a good ult.
for 45 seconds. They go in. It's the Phoenix that could be the target up in the sky. Leave for Ratmilk. Comes dunking down, finds PeerPressuree. They get the Phoenix as well. The damage just comes out of nowhere. They have to back up, play a little carefully. Shippigami with the snipes. Get some damage spread out there. Tier 2s still up in mid and in right. And that seems to be the retreat call from We Ready. Oni Fury's going to be waiting for him. Fire minions back up and left. Only 15 seconds left on the power play. They're going to let this one fade, Mifflin, with another Phoenix success. An Oni Fury to boot. But a Pyromancer may be waiting in the near future. And the patience of another Fire Giant necessary.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done a bit more there. Every set of beads still available for We Ready. Very hesitant to push in towards that Phoenix. I think showing a lot of concern for ELLEON and his ultimate, even on the dunk from Ratmilk. Connects with his target, peer pressure down to about 20%, doesn't use the hammer aggressively because he's waiting out that ultimate. He's concerned that ELLEON's going to look for the initiation. So loses his opportunity to find the pick. And because We Ready had shown so much respect walking in, even by the time they break the base, with little fanfare, not a whole lot of fight back there from Xibalba Storm. They had taken so long to do so, that they could not do a whole lot afterward.
Fear No Evil dropped early. Shippigami gets the target. Shippigami goes up into the air and is buying time. Needs his team to come help things out. Get some damage out there for Snipes, but is low in the health. Rolls away from Slash as Auto-Wing has the damage, is able to just barely get himself further away. Unfortunately falls down, but Shippigami, able to help set his team up for success. A lot of investment onto the carry.
Good hammer.
Slash.
Oh my God.
Some things done. Ratmilk tries to get a little bit more good from GIobe. It's back and forth, Mifflin. It's 3 for 3. You've got a mid laner and a carry, but a carry that's low.
That's so free.
Hapn is looking for it. Misses his ability. GIobe throws out the unstable vortex. You got to find something. There it is. Hapn with a rare Ganesha kill. 2 left standing for Ready. Just Biteyyy on the other side. And fire minions getting some work done. Keep him occupied. Oh, and the question is what's going to happen to you if you do. Bitey's low. Trying to stop the back. The ult used. Unstable vortex doesn't connect. Whether it's luck, whether it's jukes, whether it's skill, what you want to call it. Biteyy still alive right now. Portal aggressively from GIobe. Doing exactly what you want from him. Stopping the back. Fire minions in left.
He's got both relics.
Getting aggressive.
Why is he so scared?
And that's going to be GIobe finally channeling the back. Biteyy as well. Teams respawning. And Mifflin, what a wild fight that was.
I mean, back and forth for sure. Xibalba Storm given a windfall of luck there in that their 5-stack on the right side jungle makes contact with Shippigami first, knocking him down. So significant to their team fight.
He almost killed Slash on his own. That was
almost
wild.
did it. If he sells Failnaught and gets Aussie, man, I'm telling you, it's just going to work. The amount of lifesteal just feels like Xibalba Storm won't have an answer for it. Doesn't matter, though. Has done so well. I will not be making any critiques of Shippigami. Has done enough that he has earned every bit of free will that I could give him. Or not free will, excuse me.
Nope, you rewarded him
I've given him free will, yeah. I am the arbiter of the human condition. What am I looking for? Leeway?
Leeway, yeah.
Leeway.
Like
Every bit of leeway I can give.
However much.
Do whatever you want, Shippigami, because whatever you want is simply working here. Otherwise, feels like we probably could have seen a bit more from the GIobe Biteyyy 1v1, especially considering GIobe had both relics still available, but we'll allow him to escape there, and the Titan drop to about 50%. One more enhanced minion wave on the left-hand side, maybe 2 more before that Phoenix respawns. So, Slash, going to have his work cut out for him for a bit. Will reveal himself shortly, unless he's already channeling that teleport.
Phoenix is back. The fight is on, though. Teleport finally available and upgraded from Slash and used to rotate in. Fire Giant, half health. Hasn't been dropped. Ratmilk, though. Ult up and then down. Small bit of utility gone. 9,000 gold separating the 2 teams. But Mifflin full builds. Upgraded relics all around. A little more on the right-hand side for Ready. It was the 3K pot that was popped by Shippigami that might make the big difference here. No 5-stack to catch him out this time. But just enough of a 5-stack for Ready to play it carefully. You have to be cautious. I think if you're Xibalba Storm, very spread out. Tegveer's looking for...
It's good damage.
A deep impact. Unable to find it. Ready. Kind of staring down their opponents for a moment.
ELLEON's got a really deep flank here. Pinged out by Ready as he steps on a ward. But still pressuring out the Chaos side. Ultimate from GIobe. Thrown out wishfully. Just seeing whether or not I would connect. And if it does, Chase could have been there. Instead, a reset back to neutral. Slash back to base to defend the left-hand side. Doesn't have teleport this time, but doesn't necessarily need to defend either. No more enhanced minion waves means that bird was safe. So he won't even clear out the wave. Instead, straight back to the team fight. But Ready aren't benefiting from the bird's eye view as we are. So, nothing ventured or gained on the right-hand side. It really does, and it's crazy that you get to say it, but it comes down to 2 players on this team fight. If ELLEON can just output a 3 or 4-man ultimate, that's it. I would think so long as one of those 3 or 4 is Shippigami, that's the team fight for Xibalba Storm. For the other side, is Shippigami alive for a significant amount of time? Is he connecting with his targets? If yes, that's probably the fight for Ready. Otherwise, you could maybe leverage some pressure from GIobe. He's very good on this Janus at just pushing out these mid-waves, staying safe, being mobile, distracting individual members of the Storm. It's not as if anybody really has chase down potential. into a Janus. But it's a whole lot of spinning your wheels, not a whole lot of getting things done.
Damage needs to be there. Snipe so good from Shiπigami just to start things off. And there's the dunk from Ratmilk, the follow through for the kill. Brìz, the first one off the table, and it's off a beautiful start from WeReady. ELLEON forced back, relics used. The ult gone from the Hunbats. And now WeReady ignoring the Fire Giant, playing for the team fight. Get Biteyyy, get the lockdown, find peer pressure, and there's no mana to save this Nox. Double kill for Ratmilk, and the surge forward from WeReady. 3 gone on the side of the Storm. And Mifflin, they were knocking on the door for a little bit now. Slash goes in. Slash gets killed. Triple for Ratmilk. Go to the weakened Phoenix. They're going to be marching in. They're looking for the end. No ult. And just a dream right now for ELLEON. It could be the first strike for the SOC. They get the deicide. And in 40 minutes, they win game 2, win this set, and put themselves up 1-0 in this round robin.
Yeah, Shiπigami said, all right, you're hunting me in the back line. I will simply go to the air and hit 9 ultimates. Well, Mifflin, there's only 3 shots. He hit 3 people with like all 3 shots on top of a Dharmic pillar, so their defense was shredded. The mid laner wasn't allowed to play. Mariana's Trench out of the ADC role. This set, unfortunately, dictated by one man and one man alone. And that's not even taking into account. That was a triple kill from Ratmilk. Credit to him. Shiπigami did it, though.
The ult. Look, sometimes it just rolls out that way. He picks up the kills. That's what matters for his team. Opens up a lot. Didn't even need the Fire Giant at the end. And a 2-0 that I think is not just important, but maybe a very, very strong flex as to what this team is capable of. Again, coming from the open circuit teams. A couple of familiar names in this one, but a stamp, I think, emphatically on winning this game. We did a lot of talking about Shiπigami. And I have a strong feeling that when replays and numbers come up, we're probably going to be talking about Shiπigami even more. So for now, I want to ask and talk more about GIobe, like a couple of those ults that are really crucial. For Ratmilk, triple kill at the end, but really good presence from Thor and from Tegveer. I think that the presence created by this Chulainn was actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, this whole set was maybe just an ADC soul lane diff, man. Tegveer, in game 1 in particular, just presence from this Chulainn. Absolutely dominating, splitting up the team fight, out-rotating Slash, making things happen, jumping in the back line, connecting with Brìz, and just making everything so difficult. Game 1, Tegveer, all the damage was Shiπigami game 1. Game 2, Tegveer's doing the same stuff, but had to do less because the game is shorter and Shiπigami has an even better performance. Ratmilk steps up in game 2 pretty big as well. This Thor separating team fights with the ultimate, forcing out relics defensively, catching out people on rotations thanks to those walls. The Thor certainly found its value, but unfortunately for him, once more outshined by Shiπigami, who essentially does it all in game 2 as well. And that's all I got to contribute, man. It's Shiπigami. I can keep saying his name.
And you know what? We probably have to. I mean, look, top damage in the game twice in a row as the carry. So again, that just goes to show the 7-1 and 12 is hard earned. And of that 12 at the end, it's the snipes to open it. We've talked about that in the past with a lot of ROM players. Sometimes you just need to start the team fight with your snipes, get someone to half health. When you're hitting 3 people who are standing on a Dharmic pillar, tends to help your numbers look better, tends to help your team get in there. 12, 4, and 8.
That's good.
From Ratmilk. Pretty damn good. And I think that's what we can just say here about WeReady. So, rack it up back to grand scheme. That's a phenomenal set from them, and it's a great time to get it 2-0 because what are you playing for? Your shot to get into the SCC. What does this mean? Well, that means that you need to win as many games as you possibly can. You're going to play 3 teams. One of them Xibalba Storm, one's the Wardens, one's Mixidity if you're looking towards WeReady. And you've now got one of those out of the way. Your goal is to step forward. So what do the standings look like? Well, while we were doing that, another match was going on. And as you can see, WeReady, what we just watched, win. But Mixidity played offline up against the Wardens, also win. So the SOC teams, Mifflin, starting off each 1-0.
Yeah, congratulations to the SOC.
If we stopped right now, they're in.
Yeah, clearly they know ball. Taking it to the SCC representative, Xibalba Storm and the Chulainn Wardens struggling at the early phase of this round robin. But fortunately for them, in a round robin format, It's not about your first performance. It's about the entirety of the run and how well you can perform consistently. Still have potential to fight their way back in.
It's going to be one to watch. Again, round robin. You're going to be playing everybody. By the end of the day, we're going to figure out some SCC teams that are going to be moving forward, or I guess what will be SCC teams moving forward. Top 2 is the spot to be in, so if you are Mixidity or We Ready, then you are in a fantastic spot. If you're the Storm or the Wardens, first off, you really hope that you're winning your match against the other SCC team, but you're really hoping that you win these matches. So the Storm, Mifflin, I think we should zoom in on them. A team that definitely had some struggles there. And a team that is going to have another opportunity, at least on broadcast, to showcase what they have. They're going to be playing, actually, against the other SOC team here in just a few minutes. Before we get to that, we're going to kick it to a quick break, and then we get back. It's the Storm still fighting for their lives.